Hi, hello, and welcome to Ultra Retrospective, a show where I take time to revisit one of the many shows from the Ultraman franchise to see where I stand on it. It's easy to forget what I think about these shows, so cementing my thoughts in a video would really help with that. In this video, I'll talk about the fourth series of the Ultraman franchise, if you don't count Ultra Fight or whatever. The first series made after Eiji Tsuburaya's death, Return of Ultraman. For this show and the two that follow, I was originally only able to watch them with bootleg DVDs either made in Malaysia or China. The translation quality was incredibly poor, with such incredible lines like "Tokyo is suck." But I eventually revisited the series with the Mill Creek Blu-rays, which aren't perfect but definitely have better subtitles. We live in a golden age where this franchise is more readily available in the United States, and Return of Ultraman finally getting an official release here was when that age finally began, I think. But is the series itself really worth it? Return of Ultraman takes place in the same continuity as the original series, as loose as that is, and it somewhat awkwardly retcons Ultra 7 into the timeline as well. A new age of monsters has begun. MAT, which stands for Monster Attack Team, is a newly formed group that's having a bit of a hard time dealing with them. Hideki Go, an aspiring race car driver, merges with a new Ultraman to turn the tide and finally put an end to this new monster war. This new Ultraman would later be known as Shin-Man or Ultraman Jack, but for now he's just Ultraman. Return of Ultraman forgoes the slow burn setup of Ultra 7's episodes, and is instead a return to the more archetypical Monster of the Week setup established by the original Ultraman. There's a mystery, the monster is revealed, Matt fails to stop it, and Ultraman finally shows up to save the day. It's much more lighthearted and goofy. But it remains grounded as it can be, because it knows when to take itself seriously. Hideki Go starts out as a pathetic lead, making brash and irresponsible decisions and coming off as unlikable. It's comical how many times he's either ostracized by or kicked out of MAT early on. However, as the show progresses, he improves as a lead and becomes a more endearing character. He actually marks the first time an Ultra host has showcased character development that lasts for the rest of the series. The Hideki Go at the start of the series is a far cry from the one at the end. It's hard to determine where Hideki Go ends and where Ultraman Jack begins, as he's calling himself Ultraman by the end. He's also the first with a life outside of being an attack team member. Many episodes have storylines revolving around the monster being discovered by his circle of friends. I like Hideki Go, he's cool. Sadly, I can't say the same for the other team members, who suffer from a similar dryness as the Ultra Guard, and their monster win-to-lose ratio doesn't make up for it either. They do make more small talk than the Ultra Guard, which does characterize them a little better, yet still isn't enough for me to consistently remember their names. The attack team doesn't leave much of an impression. They do have a banger theme song, though. The other side characters who surround Hideki are a little better. The Sakata family are likable enough. Jiro is one of the better kids in kaiju media, and Ken works as a good mentor figure. Aki is unfortunately just the girl, TM. This is of course not mentioning the change in the status quo in episode 37, which I'll just leave alone so you can experience it for yourself. Because this show is worth seeing. Return of Ultraman has a handful of standout episodes. Episode 33 especially is a highlight of the Showa era, taking what could have been a standard alien invasion episode and adding a subtext of xenophobia, resulting in a somber, memorable episode. The show also has a decent roster of new kaiju that would reappear later down the line. Overall, I wouldn't consider Return of Ultraman a favorite of mine. It follows the Monster of the Week format very closely, and rarely does the interest I have in an episode extend beyond the uniqueness of the monster. In a marathon setting, the show gets repetitive very quickly, and the final episode is one of the lamest climaxes in the whole series. They did my man Zeton dirty. Depending on who you ask, this is either a good thing or a bad thing, but as a zoomer with a very low attention span, the 25-minute length of these episodes is a little much for me. I'm not saying I want something overstimulating and noisy. I'd watch Ginga S if I hated myself that much. But the 25-minute length of these episodes isn't my preference. This was a time when, at most, there was just the intro and no ending song, so the episodes made the most of their runtime. They were not made to be binged. The Tiga through Mebius era is where I really think they struck a balance on pacing, but I'm getting ahead of myself. I will say, because Return of Ultraman is such a distillation of classic Ultraman, from the attack team sortie scenes to the sentimentality of the slice-of-life moments, to the formulaic episode structure, that every episode is great for standalone viewing once every so often. If anything, it's a nice time capsule of the early 1970s, from the fashion to the mellow soundtrack to the shaky haircuts. Watching an episode from this show is like being wrapped in a warm blanket. A beige blanket with a ugly carpet pattern. Return of Ultraman is okay. If you're getting into the Ultra series for the first time, I would consider it as a second or third show. It kickstarted a second kaiju boom, with a new clearly defined Monster of the Week formula that, while exhausting in a marathon, works when viewed in moderation. I like this show, check it out. Hi, hello. At the time of this recording, it's been a good while since I've done one of these videos, but I'm hoping that I can make this a regular series on my channel because I've seen a lot of Ultraman. I've seen everything up to Orb at this point, but anyways, thanks for making it to the end of the video. Here are my $5 supporters. It's Godzi, Bigodilo, an actual Dimetrodon, Space Hunter M, CMG, Red Comet Harry, and Marpzilla. Thank you very much.